Did I struggle in school? Yes. My parents actually gave up on me by grade 3. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I didn't understand multiplication or division. If we were still living in the times where kids either went to school or they worked out on the field, I would have benefited better from working in the fields, gaining hands-on learning experiences. I have had to change my writing process now that I understand that my brain processes information differently from other writers. Hello, my lovelies. Because my video on how to complete a writing project as a neurodivergent writer was a big hit on this channel, I thought I would make a vlog on what it's actually like to live without a diagnosis, what it's like to be a neurodivergent writer, and how I actually complete my writing projects with ADHD. My hope is that this information will inspire you, especially if you struggle to read and write, if you struggle to even complete a writing project for many reasons, but you also yearn to become a published writer, because I know the struggle. Before we get started, if you're new to this channel, hi, welcome. My name is Lisa. I am a writer, ex-teacher, and mother of two. I also work a 9 to 5, but I like to squeeze in time to do some writing and content creation in order to help you guys and to inspire you to keep dreaming and to keep writing, and most of all, to keep my sanity. On the topic of being a neurodivergent writer, I learned way late in life that I have ADHD, which stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Disorder makes it sound like there's something wrong with us and you should all just stay away, but it's really just a label to help us better understand the functionality of our brains. Those of us who have ADHD fall under this umbrella of what's known as being neurodivergent. Now, I won't go into detail on what that is because I've already made a video on that, so feel free to go back and watch that. In short, being neurodivergent just means that folks like myself process information differently. Think of it as you have your typical learners and your atypical learners. For instance, I am a kinesthetic learner. I learn better by being able to move around and touch and feel and interact with things and also ask a lot of questions in order to comprehend better. So, did I struggle in school? Yes. My parents actually gave up on me by grade 3. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I didn't understand multiplication or division. I pretty much struggled with everything in school and didn't understand the whole of school. And why? Because the learning environment was not right for me. I personally believe that if we were still living in the times where kids either went to school or they worked out on the field, I would have benefited better from working in the fields, gaining hands-on learning experiences, rather than sitting in a classroom, doing some rote memorization, and learning at a desk all day. I also couldn't stay put when at home. If my family was watching a movie, I was like up and down, moving around, moving in my seat, in and out of the room. I couldn't even finish watching the movie. I remember just coming to sit down and watch a bit of the movie, going to the next room, coming back to watch a bit, and going to the next room. Definitely could not finish a movie. I also remember my mom just constantly yelling at me and comparing me to my siblings who did a much better job at school than myself, and that didn't help me either. However, I powered through. I had some very understanding aunts and uncles. I did a lot of sleepovers with my cousins just so that I could be a kid. And I also had some very supportive teachers in school, and with their support, I was able to complete high school with a 3.5 GPA. I was the first kid in my family to complete college. I started a teaching career, and now I work for a very big library system and I get to write. I honestly only got through school due to the support of my teachers, and coincidentally, I also became a teacher myself. I really loved building a bond with my students and having a classroom full of my own children. I've always loved kids and I've always wanted my own children, so my students were my first children. However, the paperwork, the constant meetings, all the testing, it was all just very ridiculous. And not to mention, there are some very lazy teachers in the field, and I didn't believe in all of these so-called methods to measure student success. I experienced a lot of burnout during my time in teaching, and I eventually left. The last straw for me were these constant migraines that I kept getting. It was pretty much a death scare. I knew a teacher acquaintance who went home one day from teaching because she was struggling with a migraine, and no one ever saw her again. She passed away. Although I don't remember what the cause was, the migraines were a sign that something was wrong. And so when I was going through these constant migraines, I grew scared and I called it quits. I wanted to live. I wanted to have my own kids, and that's what I do now. I work a job that I love. I get to write. I also have two beautiful babies. Too bad my husband doesn't want any more kids. Maybe I'll be 50 with my third baby. So that's my background on what it was and still like to live without a diagnosis, to struggle and push through with ADHD. School was really hard for me and I didn't get direct family support, but I do believe that the Lord played a big role in pushing me through and placing just amazing, spectacular people into my life. And I know that not everybody gets such blessings, so I use my gifts and my blessings to help other children. And now I use this channel to help you guys. I have to say, I've always been jealous of other writers because they can start and finish a writing project. I mean, I work at a library, I'm surrounded by books every day, and I wish that my name was on some of those. I also watch fellow writer YouTubers, and so many of them can just start a writing vlog by saying, I want to write this many words today, let's get started. And they do. For myself, it's, I want to edit Project Emily today. And it turns into, I wrote a blog post, I did some reading, I got distracted by my phone, let's go make tea, all in one video attempt. However, I do finish my writing projects. My process is just a little different. As a matter of fact, I have had to change my writing process now that I understand that my brain processes information differently from other writers. I've been writing since I was 12 to 13 years old, and I actually started as a pantser. This means that I sat down and write on the figurative seams of my pants. Whatever came to mind went down on paper from page one to page whatever. And this method actually proved unsuccessful because I would eventually lose momentum and then I would just give up on the full writing project. Therefore, I have boxes and USBs full of unfinished writing projects. During the start of the COVID pandemic, I discovered Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody. Brody's book and course teaches you how to plot a novel using a beat sheet. And this completely changed my writing because now I'm a plotter. I plot my writing projects, and then while I'm writing, I do some tweaking if my writing decides to take a turn in a different direction. For Project Emily, I am actually using a beat sheet, and then for my novella series, I use a list of events. And this is because Project Emily is a full-length novel, and the series are novellas. Plotting my books have actually helped me to finish them. Therefore, if you're neurodivergent like myself and you struggle to write, I highly suggest that you use an outline. I do have some lessons on this channel as well as a novel writing kit, so just check out the description box below. If physically writing is tough for you, then use a voice recorder. I do that too. Now let's talk about what my writing process actually looks like. One of the biggest struggles with being a neurodivergent writer is that I struggle to finish a writing project, as stated before. For many years, I struggled with just starting a project. I would plan it out of my head, create outlines, and then I would write nothing. Or I would start something and then never finish it. And this cycle would repeat itself. To combat this cycle, I now do some very specific things, and these steps and this method has actually helped me to finish and publish two novellas, and I am now on the third installment. So this is a tried and true method. I want to walk you through this process, especially if you are a neurodivergent writer and you struggle to start and complete a writing project, such as myself. So we are going to use Mr. Darcy's Christmas Wish to help you, and let's get started. The first step is to start with a title. For this novella, I already had the title in mind, which is Mr. Darcy's Christmas Wish. If I didn't have a title, I would use an alias, such as Project Darcy, and then I would worry about the title later. The second step is to create a story idea. A story idea is pretty much just 2 to 3 sentences about what the story would be about. In this case, the story idea for Mr. Darcy's Christmas Wish is Lizzie and Darcy have known each other for a couple years. Their families are well acquainted, but neither get along. Darcy's aunt demands he finds a wife sooner than later. Because Darcy's friend and Lizzie's sister are engaged, the two must interact and they slowly start falling for each other. It's not perfect, but it reminds me of why I'm writing this story and keeps me accountable and on track. The third step is to choose the characters. In this case, we have Darcy and Lizzie. There's also the whole Bennet family as a whole. There is Darcy's best friend Bingley. There is also Lady Catherine de Bourgh, to name a few. By the way, if you haven't caught on, this novella was actually a fanfiction writing challenge that I gave myself. It is based off of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice world. The fourth step is to determine the themes that the characters must learn. Now, generally, the theme or the lesson is only for the main character, but I want both of my characters to learn and grow, so each of them have their own theme. For Darcy, it's not clearly stated, but the contrast is there in the first and last chapter, and then for Lizzie, the theme is stated in one of the chapters. The fifth step is to draft a list of events. Because this novella is shorter, I just create a list of events in chronological order, and then those events eventually become the chapters. The last thing to do, the most obvious step, is to just write. I go back to the first chapter and I include the hook. In this case, it is a conversation between two familiar characters from the original Pride and Prejudice novel. I also include the problem or the dilemma that Darcy must face and solve. And then I introduce the second character and their life and their problems. And I just keep writing to ensure that I'm meeting each of the events or each of the things that must occur in the chapters. Once I've completed the book as a whole, I go back and I delete the events and I leave only the headers and all the information after it. These steps have actually allowed me to finish a novella in 1 week. So in 2 weeks' time, I wrote 2 novellas or 2 books. You could find Mr. Darcy on Amazon and Kobo, and next month will be the prequel with Mr. Bingley. Make sure you subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with the series and to gain more writing tips and tricks. That's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry if it's a little longer than my usual videos. The point of this video is to give you context on what it's like to grow up without a diagnosis of battling ADHD on a daily basis, as well as what it's like to be a neurodivergent writer, and how I actually complete my writing projects. I hope that you learned something and are now inspired to start and finish your book or two. If you need more writing inspiration, check out the videos on the screen, and I will see you there. Take care and have fun reading and writing. Bye! What? Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to aWritersCorner with me, Lisa. I'm an ex-teacher and writer, and in today's corner, we are going to be discussing how to finish a writing project. Now, this project may be your manuscript, your novel, a script itself, whatever it is you are working on, and we're going to be discussing how to complete that if you are neurodivergent. So what does it mean to be neurodivergent? Now, this word is used to describe people whose brain processes information differently, and those who have behavioral traits that would not be considered the norm. Folks who are on the autism spectrum, folks who have ADHD, or various other learning needs and disabilities. And of course, all of this is more of an umbrella encompassing a lot of different people with different learning needs. Think of it as folks who are your typical learners and your atypical learners. I like to think of it as kids who can sit in a classroom and listen to instruction all day, in comparison to kids who need to run around and play and touch and feel in order to learn better. I myself have undiagnosed ADHD, and to be honest, I've had it all my life, and I didn't have a name for it, nor did I understand what any of this was until I was nearing my 30s, and now my life makes sense. Plus, I see it in my kids. If you're questioning if you fall in this category, not that categories are bad, let me know if you can relate to these personal examples. You feel like you don't fit in at school and or work. You struggle in school, especially in subjects that are supposed to be easy. You constantly need movement or distractions. You go from one unfinished task to another, but you eventually complete them all. You are either extremely organized or extremely messy. You are a perfectionist. You hyperfixate on things such as what you could have said better in an earlier conversation, and your brain feels like it's always on the go. Don't worry if you're like me and you check off most of the things on this list. Nothing is wrong with you. You and I just process information differently. Our brains are wired differently. And hey, diversity makes the world a better place. I mean, would you rather be that person who works a boring robotic job that you hate, or somebody who wakes up and wants to be a better version of themselves yesterday, especially the person next to them? What? I challenge you to be the latter. Going back to our topic, how can someone who cannot focus nor learn like your typical group of people finish their writing project? Well, here are 8 techniques to help you start and finish your manuscript, especially if you are neurodivergent. The first thing to do is to make a to-do list. List all the tasks that you need to accomplish today and tackle them one by one, starting with the hardest and longest one. This is because once you have finished the hardest, longest task, the other tasks will feel like a reward. Physically check off each item as you complete them and then reward yourself in the end. You can have a lollipop, a movie, a nap, you name it. For me, it's having my husband grab dinner. The second thing to do is to get moving. If your writing task is to write for 1 hour, give yourself time in between to get up and stretch and get moving. You could also spend this time chatting with a friend, a pet, or your partner. Movement gives your brain a break so that by the time you return to your writing, you are set and ready to go, and of course, very refreshed. Other ways to incorporate movement is by changing up the scenery. Say you have an office in the house, change it up and go to the kitchen. Move to the dining table. Go outside. Write in the car. Write in bed. Or go to the coffee shop. Your brain will thank you. The third thing to do is to listen to music or other. I admit I can't write in an extremely quiet space. I need noise of some form. Therefore, I either have to be listening to music, a podcast, or an audiobook. If I don't do so, my brain will actually start creating noise on its own, and it's very distracting. Therefore, incorporate music or some other noise into your writing time. White noise machines or fans work great too. The fourth thing you can do is to body double. Body doubling is when you have someone else present while you are working on a task. Having someone else around motivates you to keep going, and you can both keep each other accountable. You can do this by either grabbing a friend or a family member, having a writing group, going to the coffee shop, or even the library. You don't necessarily need someone you know around you as you're writing. It just helps to have others around you because you'll stay motivated because, well, they're progressing too in whatever tasks they're working on. And that's the whole point of body doubling. Trust me, this is how I got done with college, and I never want to go back to school because it was extremely hard for me. The fifth thing you can do is to work on multiple projects. I admit this is something that I do as a writer. My brain can't stick to one topic or one big project at a time. I actually go from one to the other naturally. My brain comes up with multiple story ideas, scenarios, dialogues, blog posts, etc. So I just work on the one that's the most interesting and most motivating at that time. I also learned that this is something that James Patterson does to alleviate writer's block, and I couldn't agree better. If you find yourself struggling to start and finish your manuscript, I highly suggest that you switch to another one. And who knows, that one may be the one that you finish first. The sixth thing to do is to create an outline. Whether you are a pantser or a plotter, having an outline will ensure that you start and finish what you set out to do. This is because you are keeping yourself accountable with a physical outline. And this can be as easy as creating a plot diagram, a list of events, or a beat sheet. Now, I won't go over how to create all three of these because I've already made a video on that, so you can go watch that here. Again, an outline is to help you complete what you have set out to do. The seventh thing to do is to set a timer. Another way to keep yourself accountable is to set a timer. If you want to write for 15 minutes, set a timer. If you want to write for an hour, set a timer. Having a timer eliminates any guessing with time and also forces you to put something down on paper before the time runs out. This is also a great way to start a writing prompt, and if you find that you need more time, then give yourself more time. The eighth thing you can do is to give yourself a smaller writing challenge. If completing a full-length novel sounds too daunting for you, try something smaller. This could be a novella, a short story, a flash fiction, or even just a writing prompt. Completing these smaller challenges or projects will still make you feel highly accomplished in the end. Personally, this is how I recently completed 2 novellas. It started as a writing challenge, and I got it done in time, and I just published the first one, right there, and I'm in the midst of the second one. So of course, I feel highly accomplished, and I want you to feel the same way. So give yourself a smaller writing challenge. To see how the writing challenge went for me, see the description box below. In conclusion, those of us who are neurodivergent struggle to write consistently and to finish a writing project. To keep yourself motivated and to ensure that you start and finish your writing project, try these 8 techniques today. And if you have one that I did not list that works for you, list it in the comment box so that you can help other writers. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope that this list helps you. And if you need other writing inspiration, check out the videos here, and I will see you there. Until then, take care and have fun reading and writing. Bye!